Okay, so we're in the middle. We're basically going to do a superconnector discussion. That's at I think it's at 4 o'clock, and right now this is kind of like the pre-session, and what we're there's something about what we're supposed to talk about and what we are going to talk about, and I'll try to like get these to be like somewhat similar, but basically the overall topic is how do we use networks to improve or basically improve new ventures? How do we use our networks to make entrepreneurship happen, right? So that's kind of the high-level discussion topic. And I'll tell you that all of the entrepreneurship centers in the world that I know of that are successful, this is really what they do, is they bring people of different types together and they mix them together, and out of that comes new ventures. And the quality of those people makes the difference. So the quality of the people who are coming in the mixing, when it's very high, both the student quality, the mentor quality, the investor quality, when all these people, are of high quality, then nothing really else has to be done. I mean, maybe that's an overstatement, but a lot of the value comes from these people mixing together, all right? So that's kind of at the core of all of these activities, and the larger idea here is that there's a network that exists here, there's a network in Silicon Valley, there's a network in different places in Europe, and should we not somehow connect these networks together, you get some sort of network effect, I guess, and make it a stronger and more vibrant ability to create new ventures, right? So that's the high-level idea. And what I'm going to talk to you about in the next few minutes is I'm going to explain to you, I guess, what we've been doing at Berkeley, how our programs work, and I'll layer in where I think the networking aspects are to that, all right? So does that all make sense? Okay. All right, you're still with me. Good. All right, so here we go. So first of all, I got to just kind of reintroduce myself in a way. So first of all, I'm representing, and I started and founded the Sutardja Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology. That's about 13 or 14 years back, and it's located within the College of Engineering, and it's, of course, located at University of California, Berkeley. Okay. If you haven't heard of Berkeley, it's a decent school. Okay. Now, in the center, we teach basically two models. One model is something that we call Berkeley Method of Entrepreneurship. And this is what we teach to students, undergraduate, PhD students, whatever. They're on-campus students. And we teach people how to have all the behaviors and basically how you start ventures. And then we have another model, and we call that Berkeley Method of Innovation Leadership. And this is a different variation of this topic, but we use this with people in companies. We use this with our executive audiences. So we have people who come to our classes that are from Google, Yahoo, Network Appliances, Samsung, Cisco, VMware, all of the major Silicon Valley companies. Even Samsung is a Silicon Valley company in a way. At least they have a big footprint there. So at a director and vice president level, they come and they attend our classes, and the model that we're teaching them is this other one. It's innovation leadership, all right? So we have these two versions. The innovation leadership works when you have a full organization. The entrepreneurship topic is when there's like 3 or 4 people, and you don't have all of the baggage and all of the other constraints that go in with being part of a larger organization. Okay, so we have these two models. Just in terms of metrics of the center, it's fairly big by now. It wasn't always this big. In fact, it started off very, very small. But right now we're running about 12 to 14 courses per semester, 1,500 students in a year. We have a number of graduate and executive level activities that go on. and we see about 100 executives per year in those programs, and then we're doing things in data, in blockchain, and in other lab areas. And then we have a very large ecosystem, so this goes back to our network. And on the network topic, I'll just re-emphasize this point, which is the value of the center is really, it's not us. The value of the center is all the other people that are in the network. So if you're a student, then the value is the executives and the venture capitalists and the other people that you might run into. If you are an executive, it might be the students that you want to hire and maybe the venture capitalists or the global partner that you might meet if you're a global partner. In other words, the value of the center is all the other people that you're not. So we have 4 or 5 different segments of people. They come together in this one platform and they see the combination of the other people as the value. And this is a little bit towards the whole idea of the networking and the super connecting that needs to go on. Okay, so a quick overview of what's our approach. First of all, I just want to tell you what our approach is not. When we started to teach this topic, basically we used to use Harvard case studies, not against Harvard in any way. We used to use Harvard case studies, and what we would do is we would take that business case and we would get the people from Silicon Valley who were in that case, and we would bring them. So if you were doing, a marketing case like TiVo, then we would bring the executive vice president of marketing to the class from TiVo, and then we would do the TiVo case, and then the person would say, oh, this case is all wrong, and here's what actually happened. It didn't really matter. In fact, it wasn't that important that the case was right or wrong. And further, when the actual person, particularly when they're founders of companies, they are so interesting that you don't need the case anymore, okay? The actual people have characteristics, they have mindsets, they have ways of thinking, they do things in certain ways, how polite or not polite, how they see things. These all come through, and they're more important than the logic that's written in the case. And most of that logic, there's something missing, and there's spin in the case in different ways. So the people were actually more important. And so we developed this other method based on understanding the people and understanding what their characteristics were. So this slide behind me tells you basically what we're not doing, and what we're not doing is all of the surface things. So we're not spending lots of time and teaching people how to make a slide presentation, or we're not telling them how to make their business case or reading case studies, it's not that we never cover any of these things. We do in different ways, and people do all these things, but this is not the main point, okay? And I'm going to explain the main point here. Take a look at this graph, and it's got 2 axes, the y-axis and the x-axis. On the y-axis, think of that as like some variation of how smart you are in some discipline, okay? It's like some combination of IQ and logic and how good you are at computer science or how good you are at finance or something like that, okay? Universities are great at getting people who are really high up on this y-axis. They're up at the top. We filter for them. Oh, you'd be just you're the best in your class. You study this thing, so you're admitted. Okay. There's another axis here, and the other axis is like being street smart. So this is kind of a psychology for innovation, if you want to think about it. It's how well do you communicate with people? Do you know who to go to and how to get something done when you interface with them? Do they actually want to help you, or are they so frustrated by the end of talking to you that they don't want to help you? There's all these fine points in dealing with the world through other people, mostly through other people, and also your own attitude towards it. So that's the other axis. And what we're doing is we're taking a lot of people who are very high up on this one axis, and we're pushing them to the right towards this place that says high potential. We're broadening their behaviors and mindsets. We're taking smart people, and that's at the core of our curriculum. It's the core of what we're doing. I'll show you how we do it in a second. One thing I will just point out to you is that if you are up here, like you're very smart, but you're narrow, and you're just a little, but then you get stretched, and you're just a little bit more broad than all the other technical people that work in your same organization. You know what you become? You become the vice president, okay? That little difference is like almost everybody is just like you, and that advantage is not because you're a little bit smarter than everybody in the vertical direction. It's because you're a little bit smarter in the other dimension, okay? And I can say that if you're in academics, that's how you become the dean. And I'm not, and I can only get in so much trouble because it's partially true, okay? I can actually say, is the dean really the smartest faculty member on the whole campus? Or is there some other skill that they have that makes them the dean, right? Okay, and people who go way out here, if you push them farther and farther, that's like Steve Jobs. That's where they're really smart with the story and how to communicate and how to handle the world in a very fluid way, as well as being technically smart, that combination, right? So that's what we're trying to achieve. We do it by reinforcing, or teaching these behaviors: wide comfort zone, generating trust, being good connectors, learning how to do inductive learning, and self-awareness. If this was a longer talk, I could explain, in more detail what all of those factors are, okay? And this is roughly the model for it. What we do is, on a week-to-week basis, we'll have people look at a framework or a case. There'll be something experiential. They'll apply it in a real situation, the venture, whatever it is that they're trying to build. And they will get feedback from mentors and kind of the real world, and there's some self-reflection. So at this point, basically what you're supposed to be doing is saying, what I'm trying to do, whatever the goal is, what did I do up till now? How well is that working? How did I interact with people? Is this working in the right way or wrong way? What do I learn from this? And then you fix yourself. And you adjust something about yourself, or you fix something about the strategy, or you fix something, whatever you're doing, you work on it. External or internal to you, you work on it. And this is the basic learning process that people go through to start ventures. Okay, I want to say that for us, this works. Like, we've tried a lot of variations, and we're finally to a point where, this model works. Okay, and I know that there's 3 minutes. I'm gonna sacrifice a whole bunch of slides to tell you this one story. Okay, for example, Go-Go Van. Okay, this is a great story. Stephen Lamb, this is our one, what do you call it? Unicorn. It's our one unicorn that came out of the center. We have lots of $100 million ventures, acquisitions, but this is the only one that's $1 billion size. So this is a kid who came from Hong Kong, and he's from a poor family, all right? He did not come with lots of money. He needed to basically earn tuition, and he did it by cleaning cleaning bathrooms in Chinatown. It's a pretty bad job. And that gave him lots of motivation to try to think of anything else in the world that he could do. All right. First it was just could I call in sick, but he needs money. So, then he had this idea, which was the iPhone came out, and people in China would buy it at a higher price if only they could get it. Apple made it so that you can only buy 2. So he got a network of 100 friends to each buy 2 with their ID, and then he started a shipping business to get these iPhones into China, and he used this basically to pay his tuition for a couple years and start his business. But what he learned in the process of this was basically how to build a supply chain-based logistics company that turned into Go-Go Van, which is a very successful, it is this $1 billion size company in Hong Kong now. Anyway, like the strangest things happen, but it's actually a great story. All right, so how many minutes do I have now? 1, 2? Okay, just cut me off whenever. And our model is that we take all these people, undergrad, grad, whatever, and we give them a different mindset, and we mix them together, and this is the networking aspect. Okay, now I know I'm really short on time, so I'm just going to show you what else is in the slide deck. We're not necessarily going to present it. There is a lot. We've been doing global stuff for a long time. You're all invited to our next Global Venture Lab meeting. It's something like August 20th, and for a long time, academics, like very good schools, they come, we exchange best practices. That's been going on. There's so many, out of that, so many global interactions happen on the Berkeley campus. I won't go through all of them and what they are. We have many, I'm just showing you what's in the slide deck at this point. We have many classes. We have the whole range from very technical to very broad in the mindset category. One that we highlight a lot is this one called Data X, or Applied Data Science with Venture Applications. It's amazing what is going on in this class. In 3 months, people are coming up a very steep learning curve, learning all the real-world tools of machine learning and AI. They're building projects that are on this next slide that are detecting fake news and figuring out whether you need knee surgery based on your CAT scan, or like all kinds of things, and plenty of stock market betting also, but like all kinds of things, statistical machine learning. Okay, I'm just going to show you what else is in here. We're using that for to build our research programs in these areas. We work with just about everyone. We're doing things in blockchain, in the executive programs, in AI, and in innovation leadership. I kind of described a little bit what that means. We have really good networks of people that we can, this is all part of colliding, all part of mixing, all part of global network, the quality of people that we can mix into these projects. If I had more time, I would tell you about Berkeley Innovation Index. It's like an X-ray into people's mindset, and you collect them all together and figure out, you can figure out how innovative and how they could improve, and how organizations and teams can improve in that way. Okay, so I'm basically at the end. I'll just leave it here. That's the idea: global colliding mindset. Maybe if you just remember those 2 things. Okay.